Welcome to Conversations with Garmamie. This is episode 22. Our guest is Tony Walby, a judo competitor that has recently competed at the 2015 Parapan Am Games in Toronto. The last time we spoke to Tony in episode 16, he was getting prepared for the 2015 Parapan Am Games. In this episode, we're going to hear his thoughts on his judo bouts and the overall experience at the Parapan Am Games. Okay, let's talk to Tony. How you doing?
Not too bad. Back to training.
Back to training. So, you were at the Parapan Am's, what's this, a month ago maybe? A couple of weeks? 3 weeks?
It's been a month since we were there. Actually, almost exactly a month tomorrow I fought. It did not go as planned. I ended up fighting two of the strongest matches, in my opinion, I've ever fought. Not the strongest guys, but I fought really, really tough. And the guys I fought were really strong. My first fight was against Brazil. He's the most decorated visually impaired fighter of all time. Mm-hmm. He moved down from minus 100 kilos to 90 kilos. It was a 5-minute match. In the first 90 seconds of the match, I was given a Judo for non-combat activity, and it was a deserved Judo. Then the match went on, and at the end of the match, I lost by that one penalty. He had trouble standing up throughout the match. He was gassed. Like I was running him to his knees over and over and over again, and I'm not sure if because of who he was and his status that he wasn't penalized, but the crowd was starting to get a little hostile that he wasn't penalized. But again, I have to throw these guys to beat them. I didn't throw him, and I lost on that non-combativity penalty. Then in a bronze medal match, I fought the 2014 world champion from the United States, Dartanius Crockett. Mm-hmm. I was ahead by 2 penalties early in the match, and Dartanius got in for a good Ochigari and scored a Yuko on me. And then with under a minute to go, I got in for what I thought was an amazing throw. I had him in the air, slammed him on his back, landed on top of him, and they called no score. Coach disputed it. It went to video replay. The video judges took their time reviewing it. And in the end, they said I didn't have control of the throw for a score.
What throw was it, sir?
It was Sotomaki Komi. Going forward, he went to throw me in Uranage. He had me in the air. I trapped his leg with Sotogari and flattened him on his back. There was a number of referees after the match that came down on both sides of it. Some said that I had control and it was a great throw. Some said it wasn't. I'm really disappointed in that. I mean, that match, Dartanius was gassed in the first 2.5 minutes. After he threw me for the Yuko, he ran out of energy, and he actually fell to his knees 3 times in the match without me doing anything. I just pulled and he fell down to his knees. And after they gave him the first 2 penalties, they didn't give him any more. And he should have been penaltied out of that match. Normally I don't ever blame a referee for a match. In the match against Brazil, I don't blame the referee for my loss because I have to throw him. The match against Dartanius, in my opinion, in my belief, I threw him. And when the audience starts booing and when the audience starts getting hostile, and there's IGF referees in the audience that come up to you afterwards and go, that match was yours, there was a disgrace and whatnot, then you start to feel like, well, what's going on? But again, my own coach has come up to me and said that I was very close in a couple of my throws, that I was lacking in a little bit of power, and Dartanius' athleticism got him out of it. There was actually one movement on the ground where everybody thought I had the hold down, and I thought I had him, and I don't know how Dartanius did this. A credit to his athleticism, he was able to push my body with his head and his determination to avoid me getting him in my signature hold down. It was just...
What's your signature hold down?
I turned into a modified Kazuri Kazakatami by controlling basically controlling his head and his hips and rotating him in. And it was like Coach Andres come up to me after and said he had no idea how the hell Dartanius prevented that. And I said, I don't know either. It's a credit to him, and I have to give Dart credit for that. And I have to give Dart credit. Dart won. I mean, Dartanius won the match. Dartanius won bronze medal. In the semifinals against Cuba, Dartanius was winning straight up to the last 20 seconds, and then The Cuban caught him. My division was stacked. My division had the 2012 Paralympic champion, both bronze medalists from the 2012 Paralympics, the De Silva from Brazil, the Argentinian. I mean, my division was stacked, and I caught two very strong fighters, and I fought them very, very good. I was happy with the way I fought. Doesn't mean I'm content with the result or content to stay at that progress level. We are exactly 12 months away from the Paralympics, and I want to beat these guys. I want to be on that podium in Rio next September, and I will do what it takes to get there.
What, as far as ranking, where are you ranked right now? And
I have dropped to 11th in the world, and I will stay in 11th. There's nobody that can pass that from behind me, and right now the European Championships are coming up in November, and that competition is only for seeding. The top four in the Europeans are the top four pretty much in the world, and they'll just be jostling for seeding position. The top 10 in the world get automatic berths into Rio. The 11th spot is what they call the wild card spot, and the criteria for wild card is B1 athlete, which I am, a country that's underrepresented in judo, when Canada has no male athletes qualified, so I meet that criteria, and I'm 20 points out of the people that are tied for 8th, 9th, and 10th. So it's my position and Judo Canada's position that, and they will fight for this position, that I'll be selected as the wild card. And then the 12th spot will go to Brazil, and Brazil sits in the 12th spot right now. So we're training as if that 90% means I qualify for Rio, but we won't know for 100% certain until December. And in December we'll know, and then we will start planning our schedule from January through to July. But as it stands right now, we are proceeding as if I've qualified for Rio.
Right.
And in all likelihood, there's nobody else in my division that can select as a wild card. The other B1 athletes that are behind me are not, they're not strong enough to be contenders in Rio. And I believe the IGF and IBSA will select the 11th place if he meets the criteria, and I do meet all the criteria, so I can't see them not selecting me.
So, what? I'm just gonna ask a random, not a random one, but a big question. What have you learned from your experience at the Parapan Games? What are the lessons learned?
Well, I came away from the competition again happy with the way I fought, but not happy with the results. But seeing where a few of my weaknesses are, I need to spend the next 11 months working power, working throw power. Like I have the techniques, I have the ability, I have the conditioning. I'm better at 42. I'm in better shape than these guys that are half my age. But I need to work on the explosive power. So I'm not going to get any faster. My body just won't get faster. I mean, as you get older, you get slower. So I have to try to maintain the speed that I have, which is not as fast as I need to be. So I need to work on something that's going to give me a little different edge, and that's going to be power. And I can increase my power. I can increase my power in very specific areas. I have tremendous leg power and tremendous chest power, but I don't have the shoulder and the lats and the lower back power that's needed for some of the techniques that I do, and the finger strength. So I'll be spending the next 11 months concentrating on those areas.
Now, is this power training obviously on the mat, but off the mat? Does that include weight?
Yeah, it's on and off the mat.
Can you give us an idea of what kind of power and strength training you do?
Well, I do a power training program right now, and what I need to do is I need to sit down with a power training coach and go over what my weaknesses are with them and see what they recommend, because apparently the power training that I'm doing is not giving me the explosive power that I need. I know enough to admit when I don't know enough, and it seems right now that the weight training that I'm doing is not sufficient in the areas that are necessary to improve my explosive power. So I need to sit down with a power conditioning coach and go, okay, look, this is what I'm doing. How do I change it? How do I make it better? And these are the constraints that I have.
Constraints in terms of time or
time, injury,
Right.
age. I mean, there's certain things that a 25-year-old can do that I can't. There's certain injuries that I have that we have to work around.
right.
There's also certain time constraints. I can't spend 3 hours a day in the gym. That's just impossible. I mean, I've got a job, a wife, and 2 kids. So we have to work around those barriers and come up with a program that I can do. And I still have to do judo training as well. And our judo training is going to be shifting away from conditioning training and more towards power judo. And I'm in very good shape. I'm very well conditioned. I mean, I can do the conditioning training for hours. So we now need to push the power training. And we started doing that a little bit today's practice with Coach Andres. And we'll start doing it more and more as we move forward.
What, generally speaking, what role, if you were to draw up a formula, and I know this formula is not a universal one, but what role does power training and power play in the sport?
Well, it depends on the style of the fighter. You have some fighters that are just strictly technical fighters, and they twist you and throw you and catch you in such positions that you can't imagine your body doing that. A fighter like that is Antoine's brother, is Fortier. Antoine is a phenomenal technical and strategic fighter. He is not physically the strongest in his division. He's not physically the most powerful in his division, but he is one of the technically and strategically and intellectually gifted fighters in 81 kilos. So that's his style of fighting. Then you have some phenomenal power fighters. Usually they come out of the Eastern European countries, but I mean, they have one technique. They only know how to do one technique. They only have one strategy, and that's to bury you, grab you, and just destroy you with pure power. And actually, D'Artagnan is from the United States. He's a power fighter. His goal is to just muscle you, to get you up in the air.
Isn't that kind of because of his wrestling background?
A bit of it is a wrestling background. A bit of it is just athleticism.
Right.
There are different styles of fighters, and there's power fighters, there's technical fighters, there's endurance fighters.
Well, how would you describe yourself in the mix of what you've just described? I know it's probably changed over the years.
Oh, it has changed over the years, and going into Parapans, I was an endurance fighter. I mean, I could fight at 100% for 5 minutes, and the other guy would be dead, and that's actually what happened. The other 2 fighters were dead. The problem is I couldn't capitalize on them running out of steam, and I need to work on that as well. I mean, if my strategy is to run them into the ground, I actually have to capitalize on the fact that I ran them into the ground. So a little bit more power will help me do that, and I do believe I'm going to continue with being the endurance fighter. I'm not going to become a power fighter. I'm strong. I'm stronger than some, and then not as strong as others in my division. But endurance-wise, I feel I'm physically more fit than anybody in my division. So we're going to keep that as my strategy: wear them down. But I need the power to finish them. So that's what we're going to move towards power for. And technically, at this level, I mean, I'm a very technical, very strategic fighter, but there are a lot of those in the division. And again, unless you're a gifted technical, strategic fighter, they're all about the same. I mean, when you're someone like Antoine in 81 kilos, he's just a phenomenal technical gift. He stands out, and his technique is so much better than everybody else. That stands out. I'm not that level of technical fighter. I have great techniques. I have great fighting skills. I'm more of an endurance scrapper.
What was it like fighting? I mean, you fought before big tournaments in Canada, yes. But what was it like fighting in Whitby in front of a mainly Canadian crowd? How did that feel?
It felt great. It felt great to have that kind of support behind me. Some old friends of mine that I haven't in the judo world that I haven't seen in many years came out to watch me. Actually, one of them is a very, very big WWE wrestler, Anthony Corelli, and
No way.
yeah, he came. I used to do judo with him many years ago, and he runs a martial arts club in Toronto, and he once he found out, he saw that I was competing, he came out and cheered me on and watched, and there was a number of other very high-level guys that came out. Well, Canada has a...
Santino Morella is his...
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Wow.
yes, it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was actually really nice to see him, and he was there the whole day watching all my matches, and then stayed around afterwards, and we chatted and caught up. And when we were kids, my mom went to every judo tournament, so he was at the Parapans. He was sitting with my mom and arm around my mom like old times, going, "Hi, Mom, how are you?" So it was really nice to see him. And I mean, Canada has a very strong fighter, Kalita Zapernik. Her dad, Eddie Zapernik, who's a 5th-degree black belt in judo, and from Whitby. Actually, he wasn't in Whitby the day before. He was visiting family in Ottawa, and he actually drove up real early in the morning, the Friday morning that I competed, so that he could come watch me fight and give support to me. I mean, that felt really good. I mean, we had a lot of people out there cheering me on, and I was really happy to see that, and it felt really good to hear the crowd when I was fighting. The crowd got hostile a bit, not towards me, but again, you know what? Afterwards, they all came up, they all patted me on the back, and they all said that they enjoyed watching me fight, and I know I enjoyed fighting in front of them. It would have been nice to have a medal ceremony in front of them, but you know what? I mean, as important as getting a medal in Parapans was to me, it was more important for me to have good matches, to come out of those matches knowing that I belong in this division, I belong at this level, and that I have a shot at a podium in Rio. And that's the goal. I mean, whether I get there as the wild card, which is what we are expecting, or if somebody in the top 10 is removed, as happened in 2012, and I move into the top 10, it doesn't matter. I get to Rio, I get on a podium in Rio. Nothing's changed.
December is the month you find out as far as the decision, right? As to...
Yeah, we will know in December. Once the selection list comes out in December, there'll be a 30-day appeal period where any country can appeal the decisions made in the top 12 at that point. The only decision that can't be appealed is the winner of the 2014 Worlds and the person that Brazil puts in as their competitor. Right. But outside of that, the other 10 spots are up for if the points are wrong or whatnot. But we've looked it over, and the top 10 is the top 10. That's not changing. The number 11 spot is the wildcard spot, and that could be the only appeal spot in our division. But looking at that spot, it really is our spot.
Which organization has final say on that?
It'll be a joint between IBSA and IGF, and in 2012 it was a deciding spot as well for a lot of divisions, and in a lot of cases it was decided that the person in the 11th spot, if they met all the criteria, that was the spot to go to, and I don't think that's changed as long as it meets the criteria. And in a lot of divisions there are some wildcard spots where it meets the criteria. So we're going on an assumption that that's going to be our spot. If it's not our spot, we will appeal it. And so we'll know in December if it is or isn't our spot. If it's not our spot, we'll have 30 days to appeal it, and then we'll know at the end of the 30 days.
Well, I hope you definitely, you get that spot, because, having interviewed you now, I think this is probably your 5th interview or whatever, for all these tournaments. I think, you have so much passion for the sport, and you've been involved in it your whole life. And, I think it would be amazing if you compete. I think everyone would agree with that. And on top of that, I mean, in that 30-day window of appeal, if, maybe we can get creative and do some sort of, video campaign to You know what I mean? Like some communication
I
strategy. I'm kind of kidding there in terms of lobbying and stuff, but I'd be game if you tell me. I mean,
well, the way
I might not put this in the interview, but
no, the way I see it happening, and this is you'll probably will put in the interview. The way I see it happening is that the list will come out in December, and IBSA and IGF they've already said the criteria, so the criteria is in black and white.
yeah,
They will go over the ranking list and they go over the criteria, and then they will make their selection. And if it's not Canada that's selected, and we meet all of the criteria, and we sit in the 11th spot as it stands right now, with nobody within striking distance behind us
Yeah.
that's even close to us that is a B1 athlete, and our only other two other B1 athletes behind us, one from Mongolia and one, I'm not even sure what country he's from, but he has 0 points. Mongolian has 110 points or 120 points to my 220 points.
oh,
So I don't see them selecting anybody but me.
right,
So if it becomes a political decision that IBSA and IGF cannot support, if they choose another country based on political decisions, then Judo Canada will appeal with the full force of Judo Canada's legal team behind them. And I don't see that happening either. I see what it coming down to is I hit the criteria, I am the spot, I am there. There's 20 points separating me and the three guys above me. I don't see it as an issue, and that's why we are training as hard as we are training. And I'm not saying that they can't go and select somebody else because it's a wild card spot and they can. I'm saying logically, it doesn't look like they're going to. And one thing I would like you to include in this interview is that as much as I say that my matches against De Silva and Crockett, I feel that they deserved penalties throughout the matches. They fought hard and they won their medals, and it was a pleasure to fight both those fighters. Both of them have been world champions in the past. One of them has been a Paralympic gold medalist in the past, and the other is a Paralympic medalist. So it was a pleasure and an honor to fight them. I feel I should have won, but having said that, they was tremendous fights, and I was happy to fight them.
So let's see what happens this coming December. I'm looking forward to speaking to him again in future episodes. Thank you for listening to Conversations with Garmamie. For more information on this podcast, visit garmamie.com. That's GARMAMIE.com. GARMAMIE.com.